Good morning, everyone. And I gotta say how amazing it is that AMIN has allowed the nerds to take the stage. I think it's just becoming more and more obvious that data and technology and innovation is becoming just critical to our industry, right? Like, this is not something we would have had years ago. Data analytics guys talking to a bunch of creative and account people? Like, no way. But here we are. So today we're gonna talk a little bit about data analytics and AI. That's the topic of the conference. A little bit about who we are, and you'll see, yeah, we used our mid-journey photo booth photos for this. Hope you guys had fun with the photo booth that we put together. I'm Tim Schatz. I'm the Vice President, Director of Analytics at H&L, so I oversee engineering, analytics, and ad operations across all of our clients at the agency.
And I'm Jamison, the Director of Engineering at H&L, so handling most of the technology, the coding, a lot of the scaling aspect of that.
And so John's actually going to move to the back of the room for a minute because we're going to do a live demo. But today we're going to talk about why a data strategy is essential for ad agencies. So first, we know everybody's investing a lot of money into AI, right? Many of us have talked about tools that we're building, technologies we're building in-house. Many of the smaller and mid-sized agencies are using and testing AI, right? Many of us here are. And we know a lot of the big guys out there are investing big dollars into this too. We see $300 million coming from Publicis into core AI platform. WPP investing $318 million into AI. So we have to compete against these guys, right? We're the independents, and we're up against a lot of investment into the AI space. And AI is becoming embedded in pretty much every tool, right? Apple just announced Apple Intelligence is going to be embedded in the operating system. Everybody with an iPhone is going to have AI embedded. Within the Creative Suite, Adobe Creative Cloud, you can use AI in Premiere Pro and Photoshop. Across all of our business suites, like Google, Microsoft, AI is in everything. So we're going to be using it whether we like it or not. And as agencies, we're dealing with a lot of fragmented data, right? We're working with a lot of different tools and technologies. Let's see a show of hands if your agency is using 5 or more ad technology or marketing platforms. That's most of us, right? 10 or more platforms? Maybe 15 or 20 or more? Some of us, right? So it's very complicated to deal with all of this, right? Each one of these platforms is generating a lot of data, a lot of useful information, and it's super fragmented, right? It's like there's different formats of the data, there's different structure, there's different ways of accessing the data and insights from each of these platforms. So it's very fragmented and complicated to pull out those insights that you want to get for your clients. So how do we deal with all this fragmentation of data? This is exactly why you need a data strategy. And really a C-suite sponsored data strategy, since that's who we're talking to today. It's really necessary to prepare ourselves and our agencies for this AI future that is upon all of us. And yes, this all sounds pretty boring, right? Many of us did not get into advertising to think about data and analytics and charts and graphs and data engineering. Right? We want to make really cool creatives, really interesting campaigns. So this isn't always the most exciting stuff, but it's becoming more and more critical to what we do. And here's why. We use data and insights to create innovative marketing campaigns that drive results, says pretty much every AMIN agency, right? And so we actually did a little digging, curious to see, of the AMIN agencies, who claims to be data-driven, and how data-driven really are we? So we built a web scraper. We scraped the content from all of your websites. We did an analysis of that data using AI, of course, as we do. And we found that 85% of AMIN agencies say they're data-driven. However, only 18% of AMIN agencies say they have experience with the actual technological side of things, the data engineering, the data warehousing, the data automation. So there's a gap. We say data-driven, but maybe we're not actually that skilled with the technology side in terms of the data activation and engineering. And I can guarantee you every agency is going to be using AI for analytics. You have a bucket of data, you have an analyst, you want a question to be answered by that analyst. They can work on one problem at a time. So it's very slow to get those insights and analyses done if you just have a team of analysts working on your data problems. But if you build an ecosystem where an AI can tap into your data, the AI can work on everyone's problems at once. So you can ask a question, anyone can ask a question of an AI, and get a response pretty much immediately, if your data is in the right structure. So the data ecosystem is becoming more and more important. And in terms of data and AI tools, these blue boxes, everybody's going to have these. Everyone's going to have AI tools. Every agency is going to be building and buying their own AI tools. And everyone's going to have access to the open web and public domain data. Anyone here can go on their phone to ChatGPT and ask it to research the open web and do an analysis, and put a report together. There's nothing unique about that. Now, what we do have that's unique is the other troves of valuable data that we as agencies collect. Our creative content, the actual assets themselves, the information about our creatives, research and business data from our clients or from insights that we're generating ourselves, media performance data, there's tons of that, of course. That's all the valuable data that we have that's unique. And nobody else has access to that but you. So how do you leverage that data and pass it into an AI tool and actually make sense out of it? So as agencies, we have to make a lot of really complicated data decisions. What kind of data do you collect? Is it structured or unstructured? Where are you storing your data? What kind of questions do you want to answer with your data? There's so many more questions we have to think about, but these are just some starting points, right? So at H&L, we have our tech stack. Yeah, it's a lot of icons and platforms. We all have a technology stack, right? This is sort of our media planning tech workflow of all the platforms that we use through our media planning process, from planning to ad operations to activation to data automation and storage to our dashboards, our media mix model tools, all of that. And each of those blue arrows represents a workflow, a process, a data automation, something we've structured with our engineering team to make data flow seamlessly from end to end, so that when we do get to the data storage part, our data is clean, it's reliable, it's governed, it's usable, it's showing up quickly on time in a place where our tools, our dashboards, our AIs can tap into that data and make sense out of it. So what do you get when you focus on data governance and structure as an agency? Right? It's a big investment. It's not always the thing we want to focus on, right? We're a lot of creative thinkers, and this stuff is very technical. But what do you get when you do invest in the back-end infrastructure? So we're going to do a live demo, probably advised to do this in a live presentation. Going to hope it goes better than Elon Musk's Cybertruck demo there. And so John's going to switch over to ChatGPT. And here's what we're going to do. So we've got a sample data set for our Toyota client. And I will say this is sample data, it's masked, it's not real data. I'm not sharing anything proprietary here today. And the AI tool we're using, ChatGPT, nothing special about it. It's not necessarily the one we'd recommend, but it works fine for this demo. So we have structured data, it's gone through our engineering workflow, it's got data from all of our different channels and platforms and tactics. We followed naming conventions so that data is very accessible. And so we plugged it into an AI so we can start to ask questions of our data. So let's say we want to learn about our Toyota videos. We do a lot of really awesome spots on TV and online video and everywhere else. Very proud of the creative we do. Let's say we want to learn about which target audiences are most engaged with Toyota videos.
Yeah, let me go ahead and punch that in here. Just give me 1 second.
And yes, we are doing this live.
All right, here we go. We're having an Elon moment.
It's an Elon Musk moment.
Okay, all right. Hold on, we'll do it live.
I know we had some Wi-Fi issues earlier, so this was kind of screwing us up. But so here's what we're doing. We're connecting ChatGPT to a data set that we've got in a Google Sheet. Typically, we would pull this data directly from our data warehouse, connect it to an AI. All of that would be fully automated. But for the sake of today's presentation, we're using ChatGPT here.
Right. Sort of what we're seeing here is that data is just sort of getting dropped in live. You know, if you had a technical analyst, someone working in Python, this is sort of some of the workflow that person would typically go through, right? Sort of writing the code, sort of parsing the information, doing aggregations. We can see that sort of all happening here in real time.
So this will start to spit out answers for us, right? We ask the question, which target audiences are most engaged with Toyota videos? And you can see here, it's done the analysis, it's written the code, it's connected to the data, it's aggregated, it's done calculations. And we can see right away, the analysis for Toyota videos shows that outdoor enthusiasts are the top performing audience with the highest action rate. So very quickly, without having to do anything overly technical, we got the answer we were looking for. So let's say we want to dig in a little bit further on this outdoor enthusiast audience. We want to know what kind of videos resonate best with this audience since they're so important to us. Let's see how we would do that, John.
Right. So we're just going to ask, hey, what creative tags are showing us the best performance here, right, for those videos? Again, same sort of workflow is just about to happen, parsing it in a different way, figuring out what Python code, what libraries need to be imported to sort of run that, do the parsing, slicing. Should take just a second here. Bam, right? We start to get an output, we start to get a narrative, right? Letting us know, hey, right, looks like drone footage, if that's part of the advert, right? That's showing sort of the best action right here.
Yeah, right. So we learned a couple things here. We found out that the outdoor enthusiast audience is our most engaged. We asked a little bit of a deeper question, what kind of content resonates with this outdoor enthusiast audience? And we can see drone footage is among the top. We can see footage in the mountains, footage involving skiing. We do a lot of skiing spots. Accessorized vehicles shot in the daytime. These are all tags tied to our creative that are really resonating well with this audience. Very cool to find these answers right away. So let's take it a little bit deeper. Let's try to visualize this information. A lot of people prefer looking at visuals instead of just numbers. So let's see if the AI can just quickly visualize this information for us.
All right. Pretty standard workflow if you know some Python. Porting matplotlib, pretty standard library for doing visualization.
I have a question.
Oh.
So do you have this in like a separate GPT with information loaded, or this is just the only data that?
We did customize the GPT just like yesterday. Took like 5 minutes. So the actual AI part is kind of easy. It's really the data prep that's the challenge, right? That's what takes more of the skill set to get your data in a structured and automated format so that an AI can do the analysis.
Cool.
Yeah. Right, so we asked it to make a visual very quickly. We can see a visual bar chart of all the information that we just pulled. And then lastly, you might want to know, is this statistically significant? Our clients want to know if we're actually having reliable insights in our data. So we can ask one more question here, if this is actually statistically significant.
All right, check that out. We'll look between drone footage and mountains, right? We can see a difference there visually, but is it actually meaningful? All right, again, same sort of workflow here, SciPy, very standard library for doing statistics. It's going to sort of figure out all the calculations there, run the appropriate functions, spit us out a little bit of a result, a little bit of an explanation of what some of the statistics mean, and then give us a little bit of a narrative.
And this is all stuff that normally an analyst would have to do manually. So somebody going into an AI, and this one is a little complex, I will admit, but if somebody wants to go in and ask these questions of an AI, it's going to be so easy for everyone in an agency to extract information from their data. And again, the point of this presentation is not to show how cool the AI is, but to talk about the importance of preparing your data, of having an engineering team, of owning your own data, in-housing your data storage, and figuring out what kind of data you want to store and how you're going to work with it. But yeah, here we learned a lot, right? We found out that the outdoor enthusiasts are our most engaged audience with videos. We found out that drone footage and mountains and skiing work really well against that audience. We visualized it, and then we found out the statistical significance. So pretty awesome workflow that otherwise would have taken quite a lot of time for an analyst to go do. So a couple best practices, right? Something we think about is data culture. How do you make sure everybody on your team is engaged with your data, one of your most valuable assets? One thing you can do is ensure all of your employees have access to data and analytics tools. And yes, not everybody wants to be building charts and writing SQL queries and doing all of that, but there's ways to make it really accessible. You can build an automation into Slack, so everyone can ask questions in Slack of your data set and get answers very quickly. We've also built something called Connected Sheets, where our back-end data warehouse is accessible through Google Sheets. So anyone who's comfortable with Google Sheets can tap directly into our automated data warehouse, find data, find answers to their questions very quickly. I would also say have all your departments contribute ideas about how data can drive the business. It's not just your media performance data, it's not just your creative data, it could be business intelligence, it could be your client's business data itself, it could be consumer insights. And data is not just numbers, this could be PDFs, this could be other data types, all sorts of different files and formats. And then one thing that's really important is setting up your campaigns with data collection in mind. And this is really your ad operations, your naming conventions, your campaign structure. A lot of agencies don't have a rigorous structured approach to their ad operations, and they end up with really messy data. It's shit in, it's shit out, right? You gotta be really clean with your setup to ensure that what you're getting on the output is very clean and reliable.
Right, so talking a little bit about data storage, right? You know, sort of the SGE, that's a really, actually that's a really good example of an issue of trying to curate quite a large amount of data, right? And bringing your own data in-house, right? You really have to sort of have someone on staff, someone technical to sort of figure out what it is that you're collecting, why you're collecting it, what is the value of it, so that way you can start to feed these tools the appropriate information, right? You're not trying to feed it information about a small furry haggis. There's other things to look at, especially with creative, some unique things that you can do for like this particular audience. Definitely want to be looking into things like DAMs, digital asset management systems. These are systems that a technical stakeholder will be able to sort of take and mash your sort of creative assets along with sort of that performance information, right? So you can get a sort of end-to-end view of that, feed these tools. And then you sort of need someone in-house, right, with sort of that technical expertise and the business expertise to sort of bring it full circle, right? You need someone who's opinionated, who can identify, collect, and store all of that information that might be valuable. And this, having a storage solution really helps you, right? Helps you develop certain products, certain assets that you can deliver to your client, things like real-time dashboards, lets you leverage all of this AI technology in a very unique way, lets you really productionalize your data, right? Use it to automate a lot of tedious tasks, a lot of bullshit work that we often have in many of our agencies.
Yeah, and then lastly, for these best practices, we know this is a room full of agency founders, owners, CEOs, CFOs. You're probably thinking about the investment, the security, the data privacy, and these are hugely important things to be thinking about. One thing I would say to consider is find ways to monetize your analytics to cover your infrastructure costs. So at H&L, we've started over the past few years having separate scope of works for our dashboards, our analytics, our tools, and some of our clients are paying upward of tens of thousands of dollars a month for a live dashboard that integrates all their data into a holistic view. It's very cool. I would definitely say never push private data into a non-secure AI. We've talked about that a lot throughout this conference, but it's super important. And have an AI policy, or at least guidelines at your agency. I know a lot of us are in this sort of testing and learning phase where many people at the agency are trying different tools and technologies, and it can get a little wild. We've had some of our clients say, like, you can't use AI for anything, don't use any of our data in an AI, don't bring an AI note taker into our meetings. And if one of our employees isn't aware of that, it's going to be a big risk to us all. So it's very important to have guidelines or a policy at your agency about how you're going to work with AI. This is something I would definitely recommend to all of you, and we'll make sure this is accessible through the OC, so you guys can go to this link. This is a Google assessment to basically do a report for you of how you are doing with your data strategy. It's going to ask a series of questions about your storage, your infrastructure, your data culture, all these things, and it's going to give you a report back of how your agency is doing in terms of preparing yourself for this data-driven AI future. So would definitely recommend taking a look at this link and getting yourself this report done. And if you guys want to get in touch with us, we're happy to chat about this stuff anytime. We love working across our AMIN partners, talking about data, ecosystems, infrastructure, all of that. We've worked with a number of AMIN agencies to actually do data engineering as a service, to do reporting, all that fun stuff. So if you'd like to get in touch with John and myself, you can reach us at data@hl.agency. So thank you so much.